Benjamin Franklin, The Life of an American Polymath. Benjamin Franklin was born on January 17, 1706, in Boston, Massachusetts, into a large and industrious family. He was the 15th of 17 children and the youngest son of Josiah Franklin, a tallow chandler, and Abiah Folger, a woman known for her quiet wisdom and moral guidance. Though the Franklin family was not wealthy, it was rich in values of hard work, thrift, and intellectual curiosity. Benjamin's childhood was shaped by these principles, and from an early age, he displayed an insatiable hunger for knowledge. Despite limited formal education, Franklin devoured any book he could find, reading the Bible, Pilgrim's Progress, and various pamphlets that nourished both his imagination and moral understanding. He was a keen observer of human nature and the world around him, taking meticulous mental notes that would later inform both his writings and inventions. His early exposure to practical labor in his father's workshop, combined with his love of reading, nurtured both skill and thought in equal measure. At the age of 12, economic necessity led Franklin to leave formal schooling and apprentice under his older brother James, a printer of the New England Courant. Under James's tutelage, Franklin learned the mechanics of printing, typesetting, and publication, but he also began to develop a voice of his own. Writing under the pseudonym Silence Dogood, he submitted essays to the newspaper that critiqued social norms and offered witty moral observations. These writings were well received and demonstrated Franklin's early talent for communicating complex ideas with clarity and humor. Tensions with his brother, however, led Franklin to leave Boston at 17, seeking independence and opportunity in Philadelphia. There, he found work in a local print shop and, through determination and frugality, eventually established his own printing business. He published pamphlets, essays, and Poor Richard's Almanac, which blended practical advice, aphorisms, and moral reflections, quickly gaining popularity and shaping the everyday thinking of colonial Americans. Franklin's life in Philadelphia was not confined to printing alone. He immersed himself in civic and intellectual pursuits, founding the Library Company of Philadelphia in 1731, the first subscription library in America, and forming the Junto, a club of thinkers dedicated to discussion, self-improvement, and public service. These initiatives reflected Franklin's belief that knowledge should be accessible to all, and that a well-informed citizenry was crucial for a flourishing society. It was also during these years that Franklin's fascination with science and invention flourished. His experiments with electricity, particularly his famous kite experiment in 1752, demonstrated his ability to combine daring with methodical observation. He formulated the concept of positive and negative electrical charges and invented the lightning rod, which protected buildings from destructive strikes. Franklin's inventions extended to practical devices such as the Franklin stove and bifocal glasses, reflecting his commitment to applying knowledge for the benefit of society. His contributions were recognized internationally, and he was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of London in 1747, establishing him as a leading scientific thinker of his age. Alongside his scientific endeavors, Franklin's civic engagement expanded. He played a key role in establishing fire brigades, hospitals, and educational institutions, always motivated by a desire to improve public welfare. He saw social progress and intellectual development as intertwined, believing that practical knowledge, civic responsibility, and moral behavior were essential to a thriving society. Franklin's political career developed gradually, rooted in his experience with civic projects and public discourse. Initially involved in local politics, he served as postmaster of Philadelphia, a role that allowed him to understand the flow of information and communication across the colonies. His diplomatic skills became evident as he represented Pennsylvania and later the colonies in London, navigating complex negotiations with patience, tact, and persuasive intelligence. As tensions between Britain and the American colonies escalated, Franklin became an increasingly prominent advocate for colonial rights. His writings and political activity contributed to the discourse that culminated in the American Revolution. In 1776, he was appointed to the Second Continental Congress and was one of the 5 members who drafted the Declaration of Independence. Franklin's role in diplomacy continued as he negotiated the Treaty of Alliance with France in 1778 and later the Treaty of Paris in 1783, which formally ended the war and recognized American independence. His diplomatic efforts demonstrated a rare combination of intellect, pragmatism, and moral vision, helping secure both the survival and legitimacy of the fledgling nation. Beyond science and politics, Franklin's life was marked by philosophical reflection. He wrote extensively on virtue, self-improvement, and civic ethics, formulating a systematic approach to personal development that included regular reflection, goal setting, and moral discipline. His ideas on temperance, frugality, industry, sincerity, and humility were not abstract prescriptions, but practical strategies for living a good and productive life. Franklin's autobiography, begun in 1771, remains a seminal work in understanding the American ethos of self-reliance, education, and civic duty. In his later years, Franklin retired from active politics, but continued to write, think, and advise. He reflected on human nature, governance, and society with a clarity that bridged practical experience and philosophical insight. Even as he aged, his curiosity never waned. He remained engaged in scientific discussion, philosophical debate, and social welfare projects. When he died on April 17, 1790, in Philadelphia, the city mourned the passing not just of a statesman, but a polymath whose life embodied the values of reason, innovation, and civic responsibility. Benjamin Franklin's legacy is vast and multifaceted. He was a scientist who illuminated the mysteries of nature, an inventor who improved daily life, a writer who communicated wisdom with wit, a civic leader who built institutions that enriched society, and the diplomat who helped forge a nation. Above all, he embodied the Enlightenment ideal, a life guided by reason, curiosity, and a steadfast commitment to the betterment of both self and society. Franklin's story is a testament to the power of intellect, moral vision, and the tireless pursuit of knowledge, a life that continues to inspire generations to explore, create, and improve the world around them.